You know, when we hear the word gifted, we usually picture some kind of child prodigy, right? A little genius just acing every single test without trying. But what if that's a tiny and honestly a pretty misleading part of the story? Today, we're going to dive deep into the really complex world of high abilities and giftedness, which in Brazil is called Altas Habilidades barra Superdotación, or AHSD for short. We're going to explore why this is so much more than some simple gift. It's a really profound and often a really challenging way of experiencing the entire world. Okay, let's just jump right in with this quote. It's from Dr. Olzane Ribeiro, who is a top expert in Brazil, and it gets right to the heart of everything. Seriously, forget the stereotype of the cold, unfeeling genius. The number one trait that parents talk about isn't raw intelligence. It's this intense emotional and sensory sensitivity. It's about feeling everything more deeply, from what other people are feeling to, the tag on the back of a t-shirt. So, this brings us to the big question for this whole explainer. If it's not just about having a crazy high IQ, then what does it truly mean to live with high abilities? Let's peel back the layers on this and really uncover the reality that's hiding behind that label. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start by looking at how ASD is formally recognized. Then we'll get into the huge spectrum of these abilities. After that, we'll explore the intense internal challenges that so often come along for the ride. We're also going to tackle that tricky area of misdiagnosis with conditions like autism and ADHD before finally looking at the path to getting real support and, why nurturing all this potential is so important for all of us. Okay, first up, ASD isn't just some casual term people throw around. In Brazil, it is a formally recognized neurobiological condition and actually has a legal framework built around it to make sure people get support. So this isn't about being better, not at all. It's about being wired differently in a way that needs specific understanding and, yes, specific accommodations. And this didn't just happen overnight. This journey toward recognition has been, gradual, but super important. It all kind of started back in 1994, when the Ministry of Education gave the first official definition. Then, a huge leap forward in 2013, when specialized education actually became a right. And then, get this, by 2015, it became mandatory for schools to actively find, register, and support these students. This whole legal evolution just shows this growing understanding that this isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. So, if it's not just about a high IQ score, what exactly are we talking about? This is where we've got to expand our thinking. AHSD is a whole spectrum, not just one single point on a graph. What's so fascinating here is just how broad the official definition is. I mean, it covers everything. General intellect? Sure, but also academic talent in one specific area, creative thinking, leadership, artistic gifts, and even exceptional physical or motor skills. This really drives home that someone can have AHSD in, say, leadership or art without being a math whiz. And there's this really cool little nuance in the language itself. Experts actually make a distinction between superdotação, which is the innate neurobiological potential you are born with, and altas habilidades, which are the specific high-level skills that you develop and express over time. Think of it this way. One is the seed, and the other is the flower that can bloom, but only with the right care and nurturing. But here's the thing. These incredible potentials, they often come with equally intense challenges. This is the heart of the paradox. The gift very often comes with a whole set of hidden pains that are all rooted in this overwhelming intensity of experience. To put it as simply as I can, imagine the world around you is just turned up to max. The volume, the brightness, the intensity, everything all at once. And this isn't just some little quirk. For many, it's the fundamental reality of their day-to-day life. So what does that actually feel like? Well, it's that clothing tag that feels less like an annoyance and more like sandpaper rubbing against your skin. It's the sound of someone chewing that becomes this unbearable noise that just fills up your entire head. It's the bright lights in a supermarket feeling physically painful to your eyes. It's why a crowded mall can go from being kind of fun to a complete sensory assault in just a matter of minutes. And this experience is so common. For years, people think, oh, it's just me, I'm just being difficult, or I'm just fussy. But then to hear other people describe the exact same struggles, the pain from bright light, the absolute rage from tiny sounds, it's incredibly validating. It tells you, no, it's not fussiness, it's just how you're wired. And the intensity isn't just sensory, it's internal too. Imagine your brain is like a supercomputer that can process complex ideas way ahead of your age, but your emotions and social skills are still developing on a typical timeline. That mismatch is called asynchronous development, and it can be incredibly frustrating. Now, add a relentless perfectionism on top of that, where any little mistake feels like a total catastrophe, and you can start to see why so many feel completely alone and misunderstood by their peers. So all this intensity, these really unique traits, it's no surprise that it can lead to a lot of confusion, especially when it's time for a diagnosis. It's actually pretty common for AHSSD to be mistaken for, or even to co-occur with, other neurodivergences like autism or ADHD. Let's try to break this down a bit, because it can get tricky. While there's definitely overlap, there are some key differences. So, for social interaction, a child with ASHD might just prefer talking to adults because of their advanced vocabulary. An autistic child, on the other hand, might have more fundamental difficulties with the mechanics of social interaction. Then you look at interests. With ASHD, you often see a wide range of super intense passions. With autism, those interests can be just as deep, but maybe more restricted or narrow. And this is a big one, empathy. In ASHD, empathy is often super heightened and intense, which is a major point of confusion. So here's the bottom line. Getting the diagnosis right is absolutely crucial. It matters so much. A misdiagnosis can mean a kid doesn't get the academic challenges they desperately need. Or even worse, they could be put on medication for a condition they don't even have. The only way to get it right is with a full team of specialists, psychologists, educators, doctors, who can see the whole complex picture. Okay, so once a proper identification is finally made, what happens next? I mean, understanding the condition is step one, for sure, but creating a supportive environment, that's where the real change begins to happen. Well, the process is pretty structured. It all starts with just observation. Parents and teachers noticing that something's a little different, maybe more advanced. That leads to a formal assessment by that professional team we talked about, which results in a report that makes it all official. And from there, they build an action plan. That could mean things like enriching the school curriculum with harder material, or even skipping a student ahead to a higher grade. And the strategies themselves can be incredibly practical. We're not talking about reinventing the wheel here. At school, it's about giving them the right level of challenge so they don't get bored and act out. Emotionally, it's about teaching them coping skills for that intense anxiety and perfectionism. Socially, connecting them with other kids who have similar interests can be a total game changer for that feeling of isolation. And for sensory stuff, simple tools like noise-canceling headphones can be life-altering, turning an overwhelming space into a manageable one. And this brings us to our last and, honestly, maybe the most important section. Why does all this effort even matter? Because it's not just about helping one kid. It's about what that one kid can then bring to all of us. I love this quote from Joseph Renzulli, who's another pioneer in this field. It just captures the idea perfectly. A rising tide lifts all ships. Nurturing these individuals isn't about creating some kind of elite class. It's about investing in minds that have the potential to solve incredibly complex problems, to create new knowledge that, in the end, benefits everybody. When we help them flourish, the whole of society gets a little bit of a lift. And this, right here, is the ultimate takeaway. The goal is never, ever to fix or normalize somebody. It's to understand. It's to create environments where these unique minds can actually thrive. It's about understanding their specific wiring and then adapting the world around them so their potential isn't crushed by a system that just wasn't built for them. It's about letting them flourish on their own terms. So it really leaves us with a big question, doesn't it, for all of us? We talk a good game about diversity and inclusion. But are we really, truly prepared to embrace neurodiversity not just when it's easy, but in all of its intense, complex, and sometimes really challenging brilliance?